And Victoria, she is the executive director of the, Global Pact for the Environment Coalition, the French government, which, for last at least 3 to 4 years has been campaigning for having that explicit recognition of the Global Pact for the Environment, and plenty of people, including many of the panelists have been part of that exercise. And you saw that ultimately the UNEP at 50, the General Assembly had agreed, to only go for a political declaration, not to, Global Pact for this. So the whole idea of that Global Pact in various forms has been persisting, and we'll see how Victoria, your take is on this issue. Over to you.
Thank you, Bharat, and thank you to the organizers of this webinar, specifically you, Bharat, and Martin, and all of the previous speakers. This is such an interesting webinar, and it's a pleasure to be here today and talk about the UN resolution on the right to a healthy environment. As many have said before me, this is a historic victory. The UN Human Rights Council had also recognized this right in a resolution in October of 2021, but the council is only composed of 47 members. And for the UN General Assembly resolution, 161 countries voted in favor, which is huge. And more than 100 of these countries also co-sponsored the resolution, which is also huge. And some countries like the US even surprised us when they voted in favor, when we thought that they might actually abstain from voting. And the US Department of State even published an article on its website stating that the US is proud to join with the international community in strongly supporting this resolution. So this, of course, gives us hope. While the resolution of the UN General Assembly are not legally binding, the strong support from all of these countries sent a powerful and symbolic message. So what's the difference between the UNGA resolution and the right as recognized since the Stockholm Declaration? One of the reasons why environmental protection was never fully enforced at the international level is actually because it has always been written as a non-legally binding obligation on states, while the UNGA resolution, which is also non-legally binding, has recognized the right to a healthy environment as a human right. So it's now part of human rights law. And that's one of the main differences. That's why we can hope that this is sort of only the beginning. And now we must just look for ways to fully implement this right. Momentum behind the right to a healthy environment may, or if you allow me to be fully optimistic, will build up speed for the recognition of the rights in a legally binding international text. It's imperative that we use this momentum and that we act now. As many of you, I guess, I believe that we need the law to better protect the planet because legal norms are at the heart of society. The law establishes a framework, it protects our rights, it imposes duties and obligations. And especially for the environment, law is useful for one essential reason. We absolutely need to change our behavior, but we are not doing anything. We know the seriousness of the triple planetary crisis. We know what could be done to reduce global warming, but we don't do anything. And the reason is rather simple. Behavior change is very difficult. Even for us who are all dedicated to change, it is difficult. So we need duties, we need obligations, and states also need to respect our rights. So we need rules. And to be more specific, we need international law, not only domestic law, because the triple planetary crisis do not know boundaries. And I'm really optimistic that thanks to this human rights resolution, and also because of all of the climate change disasters that are happening, and this summer clearly showed us that climate change impacts everyone, everywhere. Our governments will have no choice but to adopt a convention on environmental rights. And this resolution could be the foundation for this more comprehensive international instruments. And we have ambitious models that could be used for these future negotiations, including the Global Pact for the Environment and the draft covenant for the IUCN, for example. The Global Pact for the Environment is a draft environmental treaty that was drafted by more than 100 eminent jurists from all over the world in 2017. It's a very simple treaty with 26 rather short articles. And the aim of the Global Pact is to globally recognize the founding principles and rights of international environmental law. So, for example, it would recognize rights and duties such as the right to a healthy environment, the duty to take care of the environment, but also the right to information, participation, and justice in environmental matters, or the principle of non-regression, for example. So, like a constitution for a country, or like the covenants of 1966 on human rights, this text would be the foundation for the development of international environmental law. And as you know, the path from soft law, here that would be the non-binding UN General Assembly resolution, to hard law, here a convention on the right to a healthy environment, no matter how it will end up being called Global Pact for the Environment or not, is actually very common in international law. And the most illustrative example is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948, which is actually a part of the UN resolution on the International Bill of Human Rights, so not legally binding either, and which resulted in two treaties adopted in 1966, the famous International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the one on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. So between 1948 and 1966, it took 18 years to incorporate the declaration into two legally binding texts. And we're really hoping that it will not take 18 years for a convention on environmental rights to be adopted after this resolution, because that would bring us to 2040, and we do not have time. The time is now, and the time has come to adopt such a convention, a third pact, a third covenant, recognizing a third generation of human rights. After our civil and political rights and our economic, social, and cultural rights, we would recognize our environmental rights. And I would like to add that civil society was really strong at the UN General Assembly for this resolution. Thanks to you, Bharat, we were even able to reach to the Ministry of Environment in India. So once again, I'm optimistic that with the help of civil society again, we will be able to reach an international agreement on environmental rights. It's essential for us and for the planet. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Bharat and Martin.
Thank you, Victoria, for